All right, so let's do a rundown on some of our national and international news for this Tuesday morning. As you know, President Trump is trying to reinstate his travel ban, with a couple of states actually urging the retention of that temporary block. It's not clear exactly which way it's going to go right now. It's actually coming to the possibility of a constitutional crisis, with Trump criticizing the judge that has stopped his ban, calling him a so-called judge. Well, as you know, here in the United States, we're supposed to have a kind of a, not just a separation of power, but checks and balances. And if one branch decides, well, we're just going to go ahead and do what we're going to do, and the other branches be damned, well, that's going to set up some kind of a conflict. Not sure where that impasse is going to lead. We're keeping our eye on it. Meanwhile, California is upping the ante with their protests and leading the way for what they're calling the Trump resistance movement. A possibility that corporate America is joining in on trolling Trump. I don't know if you saw the Super Bowl commercials, but there were several of them that promoted diversity and multiculturalism in apparent defiance of the president's anti-immigrant agenda. If the other side of the globe, the Russian security forces, the FSB, explaining why they've introduced a border zone on the border there, the frontier with Belarus, it basically comes down to drug interdiction and immigrant smuggling. Meanwhile, the Kremlin is demanding an apology from Fox News because Bill O'Reilly called President Putin a killer, and the Communist Party of China, in their official mouthpiece, their official newspaper, saying that a war between China and the U.S. would be a disaster for the entire world, kind of echoing the words of Henry Kissinger several decades ago. What was it, 1972, the whole rapprochement between China and the United States? We could go either way right now. In Syria, apparently the local control here, the army has cut off the IS, the Islamic State supply route into Al-Bab. And a UK speaker has said in front of Parliament that he doesn't believe that Donald Trump should be allowed to speak at the UK Parliament when he comes for his official state visit. And it's interesting because he is one of the key holders of the building, so it's not clear yet if he's saying that I'm not going to let him in, or if he's just telling his other MPs, I don't think he should be allowed. This is an honor, not a necessity. Sean Spicer criticizing SNL, saying that they've crossed over to being mean because of their portrayal of him. Melissa McCarthy did a spot-on imitation of Sean Spicer on Saturday night. Later on, he backed off a bit and said it was cute and funny. Also, it looks like Israel is likely to pass a bill that would retroactively legalize the Jewish settlements that they're now talking about taking down. If they do legalize this, it could put Israel in direct confrontation with the rest of the world community, something that a number of people, of course, are keeping their eye on, especially in point of some people's eschatological views. And did you hear about Theo? He's a young black man, 22 years old, in France, who was arrested by the police and sodomized during the arrest. He actually needed surgery for his nether regions because he was so severely injured by the police during that arrest. A couple of police officers have actually been charged, and on Monday, hundreds of French people took to the streets to protest this incident. Also, Theresa May in the UK advising her MPs not to hinder the country's exit from the EU. And lastly, picking up a story from Izvestia, Donald Trump going to Twitter to denounce all of the polls that say that the country's leadership is headed in the wrong direction. You may have seen something over the weekend about how he's got the lowest approval ratings at this point in his presidency than any president ever. He says all those polls are false. People want border security. And he knows this. And that's what we've got for our national news. Make sure you check out my Alaskan news segment and my commentary. Today I'm going to take a more light-hearted approach. This is one of the things that I've been talking about lately. You like what I'm doing? Please support me either through Patreon or through a direct subscription at radiofreespeech.com. Thank you.